The T20 World Cup is just a few sleeps away and still we don't quite know the makeup of the Australian side. There are a few questions over our batting and bowling lineups and the skipper himself. Welcome to Fox Sports Lab Cricket. I'm your host Ben Dixon and joining me, former Australian all-rounder Simon O'Donnell. Welcome, Scoob.
Ben, nice to be here. Mate, I think we could have a really long and successful career doing these sorts of things, but last night I caught you singing on the NBA show. You sing again, I'm leaving.
I'm one of the great singers of all time. It was way out west where the rain... James Rain.
I'm very close to going and we've only just started.
Well, it reminds me a little bit of your batting career, James Rain song. Don't be so reckless. Enough of that. Can't wait to get your thoughts on all of this. Coming up, our new ball segment takes a closer look at Cameron Green's 11th hour bid to make Australia's T20 squad. In quick single, we examine if skipper Aaron Finch has done enough to lock in a spot at the top of the order. And yes, no, wait, we'll discuss what Australia's best bowling lineup looks like. Can India overcome the massive loss of Jasprit Bumrah? And who does this man next to me fancy in the tournament? We're coming in off the long run, so let's get right into it. We're taking the new ball and steaming in from the scoreboard end with a look at Australia's T20 World Cup defence. Simon O'Donnell, Australia has until Saturday to finalise the squad, and at the moment Cameron Green isn't in there. If he does come in, who does he replace?
Well, firstly, I don't think he comes in to go. Australia's had 18 months to get this squad right. They've been working from that period to now to make sure they had the right squad. They picked, I think, what was the right squad. Cameron Green did very well in India in a couple of those T20 matches before this World Cup tournament. He hasn't really shone since he's been back here in Australia. He's probably been a little mixed up about what his role is. It was a bit of a licence when he was over in the subcontinent. He hasn't sort of fulfilled that licence since he's been back here. So I think the squad stays as it is. If there was a spot for Cameron Green, it would be if Mitch Marsh didn't come up through injury, sort of replacing like with like. But I don't think Cameron Green gets a spot.
What about Australia's form in the current series against England? What's your read on that?
It's interesting that both games so far have been really tight. I think a key ingredient to be competitive and be there at the pointy end of this World Cup is your top two. They've got to be consistent right throughout the tournament. We've seen England in the first game, not so much the second, put on a 70 or 80 run stand. Australia haven't been able to do that for quite a period of time, and we really do need David Warner and Aaron Finch. We need them to find some form for Australia to be really competitive in this competition. So that's the test. They've both got plenty of experience. One's the skipper. He's signed off from playing in the 50 over stuff. He can now concentrate on the 2020 stuff. Let's hope he can bring us home another World Cup.
Well, bring it home. You've come off the long run steaming in. So that was a great new spell from you. If the explosive Cameron Green does get in, it will increase the heat on the skipper.
The betting brand for sports fans. That's better. Gamble responsibly.
It seems remarkable that Australia is only a week away from launching its World Cup title defence, and still the chat is all about whether skipper Aaron Finch deserves his place in the side. Let's put Simon O'Donnell under pressure with a quick single. Scoob, you've never been one to sit on the fence, so let's not start now. Should Finch be facing the new ball when Australia walks out against New Zealand in Game 1 on October 22nd?
Of course he should.
Oh, that was quick.
Well, he's the Australian captain. Selectors started putting this side together 18 months ago. He was the captain then, he's the captain now. We won the last 2020 World Cup. He likes to play under pressure. Yes, he's under plenty of it because he hasn't been as successful with his personal form in the last 12 months. But to go, we expect Australian captains to step up. We expect Aaron Finch to step up.
Well, before we get to the contenders, should Finch not pull the pads on, I just want to bring up a little story quickly. You said never blame the bat. When I stayed with you, I stole your bat and I haven't given it back at school. I should have chosen cricket over footy, maybe. No. I think you made a very wise decision in playing footy. And that story goes that I actually gave you free rent for a week to come and play Dowling Shield. I'm still waiting for the rent. Well, you did actually send me an invoice, there's no doubt. All right, we'll discuss that. If he doesn't pull the pads on, Who are the contenders?
Oh, look, if there's an injury to the skipper, okay, we need to make an enforced change, or, he's in really poor form after 3 or 4 games. Well, the World Cup's out of your sight then generally anyway. But Matthew Wade would be the guy to step up. I wouldn't like to see our middle order be fiddled with. I think when it operates well, it's devastating. So, I'd be thinking a Matthew Wade comes from 7 up to opening the batting, or probably the outsider to do it would be a Josh Inglis, the young fella from WA, really solid at the top of the order, played plenty of 2020 cricket. So there's options there if need be. As
a batsman, and you're one of the greats, that's the only compliment I'll give you throughout the year. How do you break that mould with the Finch? How do you get into form?
Well, he has to get into form. And the bottom line, generally, when you talk to people about when they go out of form in elite sport, it's getting back to basics. And Aaron Finch has done all of this before. He's been successful at this level before. He'll be getting so much advice. You've got to shut that out and get to say, okay, what is my routine? What have I done over the journey to make my career a success? And make sure you package that all up, put a bow around it, and do it.
That's the wise advice you gave me 25 years ago. Outstanding you are. Well, a quick single there as we wish selectors all the best as they weigh up the pros and cons.
The betting brand for sports fans. That's better. Gamble responsibly.
It's yes, no, wait time, and we've put Simon O'Donnell under the pump once again. We've taken a good look at the batting order. Let's turn our attention to the bowling order. Is your confidence there, Scoot?
Confidence massive with our bowlers. Mitchell Starc, Josh Hazlewood, Pat Cummins. Then leg spin, off spin, a couple of medium paces that change their pace. I think the balance of that attack is as good as any attack going into this World Cup.
Okay, so based on that, do we win? Is that a yes from you
for
the World Cup?
It's a yes. There's just one sticking point. The 2 lead-up games versus England, we had Mitchell Starc, who, in your opinion, who's the best opening bowler in 2020 cricket in the world?
Mitchell Starc, hands down.
Okay, so Mitchell Starc didn't open the bowling against England because it wasn't the right matchup. Now, I'll tell you what I'm smelling. I'm smelling that people are overthinking what's going on here at the moment. And when you start to overthink, I think you start messing with form. He's been the best bowler for Australia his complete career in 50-over cricket and in 2020 cricket. Why would you be changing that on the eve of a World Cup? Please just leave it be. He's the best. He doesn't need to pitch himself against any batter or it's not the right lineup. He can bowl any batter out in the world.
I love how you referenced your nose because with the size of that hooter, you can smell anything. Now, turning your attention to India, one of the favourites, a massive injury blow, Jasprit Bumrah. Is that a no now that he's out?
No, it's not a no. Does that mean I say yes?
Yes.
No, they can still win this. Don't worry about that, India. Now, Bumrah is a big out. But, India play a lot of this cricket on the subcontinent. They've got a really strong squad. They have change-ups. Like we've just spoken about the Australians, they had numerous change-ups from pace bowling to spin bowling. So the Indians without Bumrah are still right into it. And don't forget, there's a fella who hasn't been making a lot of noise in the last 12 months called Kohli. He just might be running hot in the big tourney. Don't worry about that.
All right, Simon. I know weight is probably the sensible call when it comes to picking a definite World Cup winner just yet. But can I get an early feel as to the fancied teams?
Yep. I haven't been known from the trams and trains. You know that, you go.
Stick your neck out.
And the 3 teams that I fancy are all in Group 1. So how do you reckon I'm going?
You're going well.
Australia, England, New Zealand are the 3 teams that I'm warming to at the moment, and they're all in Group 1. Good luck to me.
Yeah, good luck to you. That's the show for this week. We look forward to joining us next week as we look ahead to the start of the T20 World Cup. Let's see if Cameron Green is left out of that final squad, as Simon suggested, and will Aaron Finch finally catch fire? Thanks for joining us, Simon. You have been in the odds and outstanding.
Oh, thank you, Ben.
Subscribe below to make sure you don't miss next week's episode. See you next week.